Yo, I'm Bob, into Marvel, happen to be totally blind since birth, talking about X-Men the Animated Series, Season 4, Episode 2, A Deal with the Devil. So this one premiered on September 14th in 1996. It is episode 47 of the show, if you're watching it in chronological order. So, yeah, there are going to be spoilers ahead, of course. If you haven't watched this decades-old episode, I'd advise you to do that, or you're going to get spoiled. That being said, jumping right in, and you were warned. I wish I'd seen this one when it premiered, because it is an Omega Red-centric episode. I wouldn't see this until, I don't think, 2003, summer of 2003. It's an episode that I just missed when it aired, and I never caught it in reruns. I bought the X-Men on VHS from somebody who taped them, and they were selling the tapes. Bought them online, because by then I'd sold my VHS tapes that I'd recorded. I'd recorded all of them off TV because I tried to get all the little recaps at the beginning of the episodes. I thought they were neat. This one, yeah, I wouldn't see for years. And I really like it a lot because you have a colonel and his team of U.S. soldiers. And they track down Omega Red in the ice and they thaw him. And I love the arrogance of the colonel. One of the first things he says is, "We're not going to make the same mistake the Soviets did. Now, this guy, he tore a small country in half in less than a week when they thawed him out. We're not going to make the same mistakes." Yeah. Well, that's it's, kind of goes south on you, doesn't it, buddy? They want him to head to an abandoned nuclear sub. It's off the coast, I think, of Hilo, Hawaii. And he's got to go down there, bring it back up. He can survive the radiation, the toxicity of the sub. And they say they can make him human again. I wonder if they really could. I don't know if they're bluffing. I tend to think maybe they possibly could. Although, I don't know. This guy seems kind of shady. I always wanted to see more of this guy, this colonel, but I don't think we do. I think he's just a one-off character. He's an interesting guy, though. I think he's used to having his orders followed without question. And, well, Omega Red being Omega Red, he's not going to do this without making conditions. He's like, well, yeah, I'm going to go down there, but I want to take Wolverine and Storm with me. They're old pals of mine. They're old friends of mine. So, the Colonel is happy to oblige him, which the arrogance of this Colonel is insane. You start watching the episode. I would imagine even if you were like 7, 8 watching this when it premiered, you were probably thinking, yeah, this Colonel is really arrogant, kind of dumb, because this is a living former Soviet weapon. This guy's very crafty. He's got his own agenda. Of course, they did implant him with a sealed vial of liquid nitrogen, and they think they can freeze him, but of course he's already one step ahead of them because he's Omega Red. Of course he is. This episode has a very small cast of characters. I like how shall we say claustrophobic it feels, because of course they're in a very tight space in this episode. Storm has a great fear of tight spaces. It's very difficult for her to function in it. Of course she does, because she's Storm and she kicks butt. But I like how we're just focusing on Wolverine, Storm, and Omega Red. And I like that, we've just got a couple of X-Men in this episode. We also get to see Charles, of course. He's trying to calm Wolverine down before they head to the mini-sub. Wolverine already knows that Omega's going to pull something. Well, I think everybody does. But Wolverine is not afraid to voice his misgivings, and he doesn't like the idea at all. He knows they're going to have to deal with a lot of Shane. Shane? There is no Shane in this episode. This is another one of those days in which I've had like 4 hours of sleep. A lot of shade thrown by Omega Red. He knows he's up to something. The Colonel is more than happy to use Wolverine and Storm as bargaining chips as well. As long as they can get the sub with its nuclear warheads up and out of the water and deal with it, he doesn't really care about anything else. So right when everyone meets, Wolverine is kind of being told what to do by this Colonel, and he's not having any of it. Of course, Wolverine has always bucked authority, and that's what he does here. The Colonel tells him, well, you'll speak when you're spoken to. And Logan's like, yeah, you come any closer to me, and I'll make you, you're going to lose that hand. Or I forget what he said. I'll make you eat that hand? I think he said you'll lose that hand, which, I mean, I wouldn't put it past Wolverine. And right away, you've got Omega Red playing with Wolverine's head, trying to get him to lose that temper. He knows that Wolverine's not able to attack him because, they're going to need each other on the mission. But you still have Omega Red attempting to grind this guy's gears. He's trying to get to him. We say, he likes having fun with Logan here. He still, of course, holds a very large grudge against Wolverine and Storm because, they were beneficial in freezing him way back in Red Dawn. And it's a very tense episode. There's not a lot of fighting in it, but I think the tension in this episode makes up for a lot of that. You don't really need big fights in every X-Men episode. I think in a lot of them, the tension of the situation, the drama that's unfolding, I really think that that in itself is what made this show so great. I mean, in this episode, we're dealing with a dangerous abandoned nuclear sub they're going to have to dredge up off the coast of Hawaii. We hear talk of nuclear missiles yet again. Pretty crazy, pretty heavy for a Saturday morning cartoon show back in 1996. I mean, it would have been a really short episode if they had gotten to the submarine and, just taken it back up. Of course, Omega Red, he's going to double cross them. He doesn't really care about getting his humanity. He just wants to watch the world burn. And that's exactly what he tells the Colonel. He just wants to watch the world burn. So he causes chaos. He's got missiles. He's already removed his liquid nitrogen. I think we actually, there are some squishy noises as he's talking about the vial of liquid nitrogen. And I'm guessing we actually see him removing it from wherever, or I mean, at least we hear it because it's it always kind of got to me when I was younger watching this. It's like, oh wow, are we actually seeing him take that out of himself, or has he already done that? Pretty interesting sound effect there when he's mocking them. The Colonel still thinks he has one-upped Omega Red, but of course this guy's already a step ahead of him. Now he's got missiles, he's got Wolverine and Storm, and I mean he's having a great day. He's having a great day before we go to commercial break, and the Colonel's trying to, I think, cover his butt. He's going to try to get the Navy involved in all of this. This was a really great, tense, dramatic episode. I mean, we do get to see a little bit of action in the sub. I think Storm tries to strike Omega Red with some wind. Wolverine tries to go at him with his claws, but it really doesn't last that long. I mean, it's just Omega Red sitting in this, abandoned sub, and he's threatening to unleash missiles on quite a few of the world's nations. You've also got Rogue and Beast in the episode, and they're headed there to provide as much aid as they can. They are discussing the option of having to do the unthinkable, uh, because you have Wolverine and Storm, and they're of course sitting in what basically a powder keg, as one of the characters states earlier in the episode. But they're, Beast and Rogue, they're trying their best to get these two out of, I think, one of the most tense situations they've been in. I mean, you don't have to have Magneto or Mr. Sinister firing off energy bolts every episode. This one was quite a nail biter, especially this second act, because you've got the Navy flying in, and of course they're going to use whatever means they need to in order to get the job done. And then of course you've got the X-Men. They're attempting to run interference and make the best of this dicey situation here. I wonder if the Colonel. Well, I would imagine he might have lost his job after this. This guy probably didn't last that long after this little fumble here. So as the sub reaches launch depth, there's a line spoken by Xavier, and he lets Beast and Rogue know that they're going to need to do what they have to do in order to stop them. And I really like how Cedric Smith delivers that. Of course, it pains him to have to think of this. I mean, this isn't the first time they've been in such a situation. But boy, this was a very tense scene here when the sub reached launch depth, and try as she might, Storm, she really can't subdue Omega Red, not even with a lightning strike. I love this guy's carbonadium armor, and I do hope we're not done with his character. I mean, he makes a small cameo in, I think it's the finale of X-Men 97. We get to see him fighting some of Bastion's Sentinels, but I hope we're not done with him. He's an interesting villain, and as much as I like Magneto, I wish they would explore other characters in the show at some point. I think this guy, I mean, he's just plain scary. I love his crazy carbonadium tendrils. I had his action figure when I was a kid, and he was one of my favorites. I just loved how the tendrils looked when they shot out of his hands, when he would unsheath them from his little sheaths that they were kept in there. Just a really interesting character. I loved the armor on the action figure too. I'm thinking of the Toy Biz version from the early 90s. That's the only tactile representation I had of Omega Red. I'm sure they've made a few more since then. Of course, Omega Red doesn't care about how many people he's got to sacrifice. He just wants to plunge the world into chaos. He's going to go down, hang out on the bottom of the ocean for a while, then he's going to come back up and pick up the pieces, as he says. I think all that time in hibernation, being turned into a living weapon and then not being used to his full potential, this guy's just mad at everybody. Kind of goes into a few diatribes in, well, not only this episode, but Red Dawn. This guy's just not really had anybody to talk to in forever. He's been asleep for years and years. So yeah, he's more than a little cranky. So you got the X-Men, and they do as much damage as they can to the missiles. Omega Red, he's of course wise to them, and he threatens to take out several of the cities in Hawaii. I think they actually take out a few. Not a lot of audio description in terms of what's going on with the missiles here. I'm just going by what was said in terms of the dialogue. So, but I think the coolest part of the episode, one of the coolest parts for me, is when Rogue she's like, I've had enough of this. She she heads down and she bends the freaking sub, and the missiles aren't able to launch at all. So, yeah, my favorite line of the episode is just Rogue saying, "I bent his boat," and so the missiles are unable to launch. Wolverine and Storm, they come back safe. Wolverine, his healing factor, of course, saves him from the radiation because his suit was, of course, punctured. So, but he's fine though. And you've got Beast worrying about him though, because he's got a grudge with Omega Red, and I mean, he warned everybody, "Hey, this guy's up to something. We need to take more precautions." Of course, you've got Omega. I think he's trapped in the sub, and I don't think we see him again until X-Men 97, when he's. I think he was frozen again, if I remember right. I don't even know if they described that in the audio description. I need to go back and watch my own episode reviews. I think I might have heard about that from a fan first. I think somebody added that to one of the wiki pages. I think they talk about him somehow being frozen and thawed yet again. I don't really know how that came about, but he's definitely fighting at the end of X-Men 97 season 1. So I'd love to see him come back in season 2. If they're going to make Wolverine go absolutely berserk, it would kind of be interesting to see him and Omega Red have a throwdown. I love it when those two fight. Well, Wolverine and Omega Red, or Wolverine and Sabretooth, those are always pretty fun fights. But I mean, even if it is a one-off episode, we do get to see Omega Red attempting to settle the score with Wolverine and Storm from Red Dawn. Of course, he fails miserably, and he's, seen at the end of the episode screaming because, now he's by himself yet again. He fails. He's not able to bring the world to its knees. But we're not done with nuclear missiles, because next time we're going to be starting to discuss Sanctuary Part 1 of 2. It's one of my favorite duologies in X-Men as a whole. I really do like Magneto as a character, and it's going to be fascinating for me, even though I've seen this thing like probably close to 20 times over the years, Sanctuary Parts 1 and 2. Yeah, cool episode with Omega Red. I kind of wish this was a duology in itself, although I guess it didn't really need to be. Just a really tense episode, kind of close quarters, not a lot of fighting going on, but a heck of a lot of tension with the warheads and the sub, as well as Omega Red pulling the wool over everyone's eyes, even though Wolverine and I'm sure other characters knew exactly what he was going to do. As for the Colonel, yeah, we don't see him again. I don't think they probably canned him. I give this one a definite I think 11 out of 10. It's one of my favorites from the entire animated series. Quite a lot of deep stuff for a Saturday morning cartoon, and I think the hits just keep on coming until we reach the finale. I don't think there's an episode of X-Men that I don't like. So yeah, next time, Sanctuary Part 1. Be here for that, and I'll hear you later.